Hi, this is Randal Schwartz, host of FLOSS Weekly. This week I'm joined by no one. Flying it solo today, but we're going to be talking about something really fun sounding, OSCON Kids Day. You're not going to want to miss this, so stay tuned.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for FLOSS Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is FLOSS Weekly with Randal Schwartz, episode 301, recorded July 16th, 2014, OSCON Kids Day. It's time for FLOSS Weekly, the show about free, libre, open source software. I am your host, Randal Schwartz from Merlin@stonehenge.com, bringing you each week, or as often as I can, the movers, the shakers, the big projects, little projects, projects you may be using every day and not know it, projects you might want to find a lot more about. Boy, there's a little stumble there. Normally, about this time in the show, I would bring on my lovely and talented co-host of my rotating co-host panels, but we had a last-second cancellation, and everybody else was busy too, so I am winging it solo. We'll do it live. So we're just going to take this show off, and I'm just going to go ahead. Well, let's first talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to be speaking in a moment with Arun Gupta and Simon St. Laurent. Now, Simon's on the show a few weeks ago talking about OSCON in general, but Arun Gupta is going to come on and join us in a moment to talk about this OSCON Kids Day. Now, I've learned a little bit about it by going onto the website, but rather than me try to ramble on about what I think it's going to be about, let's go ahead and bring Arun on. Arun Gupta, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
Very good. And where are you speaking to us from?
I'm actually based out of Bay Area, California, right now in San Jose.
Very cool. Very cool. And Simon, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Great, cool. And where are you speaking to us from?
In Ithaca, New York. There's the occasional rooster around, and I'll be heading to Portland tomorrow to get OSCON going.
Very good, very good. Well, Arun, let's start with you. Why don't you give us sort of the what OSCON Kids Day is about?
Sure, yeah. So OSCON Kids Day is where OSCON and DevOps for Kids are partnering to host an entire day of workshop for school kids as part of OSCON. This is the first time we are doing such an event as part of OSCON. So this is the Sunday of OSCON, basically. And the idea is to engage kids from all the way from elementary school to high school who are interested in learning about technology. And the main focus is going to be, yes, lots of workshops, but the main focus is lots of fun. We have workshops such as Python, Scratch, Minecraft modding, Arduino, Raspberry Pi, whole bunch of stuff. So that's what it is. There is a website where you can find out more details. We will provide laptops, pre-configured laptops. So kids basically don't have to bring anything. There is no homework required. Just show up. Get ready to have some fun, have a good weekend, and hopefully more kids and parents will get inspired and go back home to try new stuff.
Well, thank you for being on the show. No, just kidding. You just did the whole thing, but that's good. Let's dig in a little more detail here. How did this kind of a workshop get started? What was the origin of it?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've been doing these workshops for a while, actually. Now, DevOps for Kids is an initiative that was started by DevOps, which is a popular conference in Europe. These guys, when they were trying to teach their kids on how to understand programming, they realized there's not a lot of material available in their local language. So they started building material in their local language, and they realized, what? DevOps is for big kids. Let's do something for small kids, so-called DevOps for Kids. I kind of brought the chapter in the US, which is called as DevOps for Kids US. And this is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. I've been doing these workshops for a few months now, actually close to a year. And then I've been in touch with several O'Reilly people over all these years. I've written a couple of books for them, working on a third one. I've spoken at OSCON for many years. And then I was at FluentConf earlier this year, again, one of the O'Reilly's conference. And there I met Laurel Ruma, actually, who's also one of the chairs of OSCON. And she was like, hey, you know what? You got to do this event for us. She got me hooked up with Alison Gillespie and several other events people. And then we said, okay, you know what? Let's get going. We have been doing these workshops. I have the experience. I have the instructor, the material. Let's give it a shape for OSCON. And that's where the whole thing started. And since then, Allison, myself, Laurel, and several other people from the O'Reilly team have been working closely to give it a shape.
And so is this like a full day thing? And if so, how do you keep kids interested for a full day?
Yeah, so it is a full day thing, actually. If you go to the website, then you can look at the complete agenda, as a matter of fact. So we start at 9:30. The check-in happens at 9:30. Then there are several workshops throughout the day. The first one starts from 10 to 12. There are two rooms, effectively, room 1 and room 2. In one of the rooms, we're doing a Python workshop. The other one, we're doing Raspberry Pi gaming for kids. The age range is specific to a workshop, but we try to be as encompassing as possible. So involve more people, more kids, more parents, more volunteers. Make sure the experience is fun. As I said in the beginning, a lot of experiences on fun part of it. So start with Python and Raspberry Pi gaming for kids. In Raspberry Pi, we provide a full kit, the displays, the keyboards, everything. As I said, just kids show up and then they do the real thing. For Python, again, O'Reilly is providing laptops pre-configured. We got wonderful instructors from the community who are going to be teaching them on how to go with it. So start with Python, Raspberry Pi. Then we have somebody from Mozilla doing a Dare to Make and Share. This is like a JavaScript workshop that they will be delivering for us. And in the parallel, we are running a Scratch workshop with Leap Motion. And then we conclude with Internet of Things using Arduino and Minecraft modding. So we try to keep the topics as relevant, as interesting, as engaging for the kids. And then still offering a variety so that, if kids say, I know Python, I'm just going to jump to Raspberry Pi workshop, or I know Minecraft modding, I'm going to go to Arduino workshop. So they have a choice and a variety. And of course, in between, there is lunch and there is other fun things we are planning. So we have done several of these workshops. It's amazing, how kids really react to these workshops. And they're completely, with their blinder modes on, they're just completely focused on it.
Now, how much programming can you actually teach in a couple of hours? What kind of experience do they get of what it's like to be a programmer, I guess?
Right. So first of all, we do not expect any prior programming experience for any of these workshops. Take something like Scratch. Now, in Scratch, it's not really about teaching programming, but it's a lot about teaching the programming fundamentals. What do you mean by a for loop? What do you mean by a while loop? And Scratch is a two-dimensional graphical programming language. So you drag and drop objects, and then it does the real thing for you. So at least kids build that fundamental, logical, mathematical, computational thinking, which is very important. Similarly, in Raspberry Pi, we teach them, hey, this is a small, tiny computer. This is an input-output. This is a display. This is a keyboard. Teach them, again, very fundamental concepts over there. Minecraft modding, I've done workshops which are half a day long. I don't even have to say a word over there. Literally, show them how to do one mod, and kids are really creative. They always amaze me. They are just on it, and then they create all sorts of different mods right away. So yeah, we do not build them as programmers in 2 hours. It's not possible to do that. But at least we expose them to the programming fundamentals. We raise their curiosity. What is it possible? And I think, to me, what is important is when the kids take a look at it, oh, you know what? I'm in control now. I can actually take a lead on this. Whatever I say, the computer is actually doing it. Then they feel excited. And over the few months that I've done these workshops, I've seen parents and kids coming back to me, hey, you know what? That 2-hour workshop was very inspiring, and we are on it, and we're continuing to trying it. So I think it's all about inspiring and giving them exposure.
Great. Simon, hey, let's speak to Simon for a second. What impact, is this the first time OSCON has tried something like this? I seem to remember there were some workshops at least a few years ago.
We've done things about education, but we haven't done anything really explicitly for kids. It's a similar story to DevOps in that we've, over the years, we've realized that everything we're doing is for adults, and adults need conferences too. That's all great. But we've had a lot of interest for years and kind of trying to figure out how to make this go. If you want to get a group of O'Reilly editors expressing wildly different opinions, start talking to them about, how to get kids involved in programming.
And so what impact do you think this will have on OSCON? Do you think this is a game changer for it? Is it, or is this just a first experiment?
Well, I hope it'll be a game changer, but it's definitely, starting as a first experiment. I think in this case, it's convenient that our first day of tutorials wound up being Sunday. It's a lot easier to get kids and families out, even though it's summer vacation. It's still kind of a quieter day usually. It's going to give us experience with how to set these things up, how to bring people in. We've been really excited just to see it sell out. It wasn't like an instant selling. It was this nice, steady people signing up, people asking questions, people, bringing different feedback on the program to it as it got started. Originally we were thinking about doing like a morning or an afternoon, and I'm really happy that it's grown to a full day with a whole bunch of different topics in it. And it's not like we're going to have lots of kids on the expo floor or something, because this is the Sunday. It's kind of a different, more peaceful day, and hopefully it'll help things focus.
Do you know if most of the attendees are there with their parents for OSCON, or whether this was actually some separate trip for some people?
I suspect there will be some who came for OSCON. We have a fair number of people who come to OSCON and also take some surrounding time in Portland, just because Portland is awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm taking a couple of surrounding days myself, although they're mostly for work, but I will get out and enjoy Portland. I suspect that a lot of them are people who are coming, locally from Portland. It's difficult to, fly someone across the country for one day when you'll be at a conference for 5 days and make that work. I'm hoping over time, we'll be able to expand this and make it a more ordinary part of the experience.
Cool. Arun, back to you for a second. What's the most unusual result you've seen in doing these workshops so far?
Yeah, so I think some of the things that we have particularly seen is, how you teach kids some basic fundamental concepts and how they can quickly adapt to it. So typically in our workshops, when we teach them a concept, we do a show and tell towards the end. So last year, I did a workshop on Minecraft modding with my son. There were about 140 kids at Oracle headquarters. There were a lot of kids who had no prior Minecraft experience or prior Java programming experience. So without any of that experience, at the end of a full day workshop, these kids built amazing mods actually. Now, not just one component or two components. Not only they learned Minecraft playing, but they also be able to hack it in and out, and they built very sophisticated mods. So that is very inspiring. The other part that I've seen typically is, for example, when we do Scratch workshops, you teach them again the basic fundamental concepts. You prepare for a material you think is going to last for 2 hours. You have a backup material which can go for hour and a half more. But then you are amazed, how kids are quickly picking up all these technologies and concepts. So you really squeeze a 3-hour material in a 2-hour workshop because kids are really moving fast and picking up fast. So really amazing, sometimes how kids react and how they pick up all these concepts and able to move much faster than we expect them to.
And do you find that the younger kids are actually picking it up easier, or the older kids are picking it up easier, or what's your experience of that?
Yeah, so I think it depends what technology are we talking about. Again, going back to sort of Minecraft modding, for example, age 8 to 12 is sort of the sweet age for them. Scratch, I would say anything from 6-year-old onwards, anybody can pick up. Things like Raspberry Pi and Arduinos, you need somebody like 10-year plus to be able to handle them. So based upon our experience, we have seen kids of different age group can handle a particular concept better. Now, of course, there are always exceptions, even though we recommend Raspberry Pi for 10-year-old plus, but I've had kids who are 8-year plus reacting very well to Raspberry Pi. Similarly, I have 8-year-old reacting very well to Minecraft modding or Arduino workshops.
Very cool. And do you find the kids being competitive? Do they ever work against each other on projects?
We generally don't encourage that. Our goal is to have fun So we do build them in teams. So for example, in Bay Area where we organize all these workshops, let's say there's a table of 4 kids, of which 2 have been able to build the entire project and the other 2 are not able to build it. Then I encourage pair programming. I say, 2 of you kids and 2 of you kids, you work together to make sure the entire table is successful. So we encourage pair programming, but no competition yet. Although we have been thinking on some of those lines that this summer kind of came as too soon upon us, but maybe during fall or winter, we'll do something like, okay, next 2 months, we encourage you to build a project, do a show and tell, and maybe, I don't know, we can sponsor something or give a sponsorship or something like that.
Are you using pretty much the same training materials at each one of these workshops, or are they slowly evolving? And are you also using the same instructors or rotating those in and out?
Yeah, so far, the only workshops, like in the Bay Area, for example, since December of last year, we have done about 16 workshops. The only workshop that we have repeated so far, one is Minecraft modding, and there is another one that we have done for Scratch. And that is because there was a heavy demand for both of these topics. But other than that, we are getting a lot of interest from the community members. Oh, I know how to do Python. So there's a very good friend of mine who's building a Python multi-part series. So Python level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are going all the way up until the point where we're going to teach them how to install a LAMP stack and even build a website using the LAMP stack. Maybe even go to Django. So this is like a 6-part Python series. Similarly, start with HTML, CSS, teach them basic JavaScript concepts, how to build a JavaScript game. So far we have not seen much repetition, although some repetition is important because we are seeing new members joining our meetup constantly. So they always ask, oh, I want to do a Scratch workshop or Minecraft modding workshop. So we do repeat based upon the member requirements.
So we had a question from the chat room. Is it possible to submit your own lesson or language to teach training or materials to be evaluated by the people that run these workshops?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We actually more than encourage that. We are always looking out for people who want to submit their talks or topics to DevOps for Kids. And I think that's one of the unique values that we provide. DevOps for Kids is run by people like us who are very well connected in the technology industry. We're all in high tech. We are all running different conferences all around the world. So most importantly, around the world. So if you submit a talk or a topic, all our workshops are on GitHub. So you just send us a pull request. Hey, Arun, I want to do a Ruby workshop. Now, that's one thing I've been talking to multiple people, but I have not had much luck about it. I would like to do a Ruby workshop for kids. So if somebody want to build a Ruby workshop for us, all they do is they reach out to me. I help them build the Ruby workshop. I tell them exactly what the workshop should look like. They build the entire material. They send a pull request. Of course, the material could be in English or whatever language. And then we get it translated to all the other languages. Now, DevOps for Kids is based out of Belgium. But then in addition to that, of course, we have a US chapter. But then there is Dutch chapter. There is a French chapter. There's a UK chapter. There's an Indonesia chapter. There's an India chapter. So we provide that global scale where the workshop is prepared by one person at one time, but then it gets translated and delivered all around the world. So absolutely, if anybody is interested, I would recommend go to devoxforkids.org. And then there are links over there on how you can reach out to us and build new material. Or you can always send an email to me, arun.gupta@devox.com. Shoot me an email, and I'm happy to look at it.
So when you select the speakers, are they people with prior training experience and prior kid experience, or does that not matter so much as just the enthusiasm and the knowledge?
Well, because we are interacting with kids, just enthusiasm and knowledge would not be sufficient, because we have seen some professional speakers, who are delivering workshops to adults. They may not react that very well to kids. So when I'm particularly recruiting instructors for our workshops, I generally ask them, okay, what kind of prior kids teaching experience you have? I want to look at their teaching style, because it's surprising sometimes. Well, not surprising really, but it's humbling actually because when we were giving, say, Python workshop, there were kids who showed up at our workshop. Oh, how do I do copy paste? So you got to teach them those very basic concepts sometimes. So instead of being irritated about that, just be ready to kind of teach them that concept, because see, our whole fundamental is about teaching programming technology in a fun way. So if the kid is coming to your class and they learned a new skill, forget about Scratch, Python, all those things. If they learn how to copy paste, edit, and run their code, that's good enough. You at least inspired them to learn something new. So I think a prior kid teaching experience is very, very relevant. And then that, of course, the subject matter expertise is important.
Yeah, I remember when I was first learning how to teach, it was a very different way of interacting with people. And then after the 1,000 or so opportunities I've got to talk to people since then. And so you really do have to have a lot of patience for people who aren't quite up to speed, or people that lie about meeting the prerequisites. That's always the fun one. When we have a limited minimum set of requirements before you can be in this class, and then they completely blow it under that. So it's like, okay, now I got to actually fill in some of this gap here. So I definitely can relate to that. Actually, we have a guy in the chat room that actually wants to use this to get his foot in the door, perhaps, in being sort of a teacher. So you might actually have a new volunteer already. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is basically an open invitation. So if anybody who's interested in helping us at OSCON Kids Day, for example, this event is on Sunday. If you are either in Portland or you are attending OSCON and you want to help us out as a volunteer, reach out to us. Reach out to Allison Gillespie or Joshua Simmons, who's the community manager for OSCON. I have good connections with them. Or send me an email. Send me an email that, Arun, I would like to help you in the OSCON Kids Day as a volunteer. Just get a feel for it. What does it mean to run a kid day? What does it mean to run a kid workshop? I'm always happy to get engaging in discussions. Where are the materials? What can you do to help us? What can you do to help us spread the word? So always welcome for volunteers specifically for OSCON Kids Day, and broader to run a new DevOps for Kids chapter or spread the education around the world.
And one of the things I'd also suggest is the software, I forgot the name of it, the software for the one laptop per child is available on a stick. And what's great about this is that the kids can, take the stick with them and plug it into their parents' PC at home and boot off of it. And there you have the entire OLPC environment. We actually interviewed the guy that created that. Now I'm forgetting both the name and the name of the software. It's too early in the morning, but that might be something interesting to add. And that we'd also get, small talk and all the turtle graphic stuff which they have on that stuff. So that'd be pretty cool too. We're just about out of time. We started a little late, so the show's going to be a little shorter than we normally do. What else haven't I covered that you want to make sure our audience is aware of? And then I'll ask Simon the same question.
So so I'll start. So OSCON Kids Day is going to be super exciting. If you got kids, I highly encourage you. Now the event is sold out, so I would highly encourage you to come show up as volunteer, help us out, learn about the technologies, help us spread the word. And other than that, the OSCON conference itself is pretty rocking. I've been there for many years. I'm particularly looking for the Sunday night fun run, 5K. That's going to be good. And then there are rockstar speakers from all around the open source world. To me, I generally go to a conference not to attend sessions, but I generally go to conferences for running my own hallway track. I end up hanging out in the hallway, talking to people, hanging in the expo floor, meeting speakers, other attendees, learning from their experience, because eventually these talks can be available, or the material can be available or can be found later on as well. So I highly encourage you to meet people and talk to them.
Yeah, I remember I've been to almost every OSCON. I missed a couple, even back when it was called the Pearl Conference, back in the beginning of the days. And I've been a speaker most of them. I'm not speaking this year. I'm just covering the show for FLOSS Weekly. So, I would definitely encourage people to show up as well. And Simon, I guess that's a perfect lead-in for you to follow up with whatever you want to.
Sure thing. I mean, part of the excitement for me with this is that I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. So I'm hoping to look at Kids Day and take things back that I can do at home, maybe as they get a little bit older, but 6 seems to be a good starting time for Scratch. I, want to second OSCON has all kinds of things going on. more of them focused at an adult learner audience than a child learner audience. But I loved the conversation you just had about teaching, and that's the kind of thing that I see happening constantly. The hallway track is always my favorite. There's sort of an expo hall track as well. People talking to each other in there, I guess supported by the coffee, food, and occasionally beer. Not for the kids in that part, but I'm really happy that we're able to extend OSCON beyond the classic core of people who already know what they're doing to bring in a whole new generation of potential creators.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of also what I'm really appreciating about this is because, so many kids these days are interacting with the video games and the online stuff and not realizing that those were all written by people just like them. That being a programmer or even interacting with things at a higher level than a programmer does, it doesn't have to be hard, and it can actually be quite fun. So I'm hoping we can continue to, try to fulfill the possibilities for people being creative and being able to engage, and not just engage passively with a video game, but actually say, oh, wait, somebody had to write this thing. And I love that Minecraft's part of this because that's except that it's in Java, but otherwise, great idea. So. Cool.
It's all right. I mean, my daughter's been asking me about Minecraft, so I think that'll be where we head to next.
Very cool. I think I'm running out of questions, so I guess I'm running out of time as well. And I want to thank both of you guys for coming on to talk about this, and I'm sure I'll see both of you this Sunday. Come make it OSCON.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on the
Thank
show,
you.
both of you guys. Great. So that was Arun Gupta and Simon. I had to scroll my thing out. And Simon St. Laurent. My notes. It's morning for me. Okay, talking about the OSCON Kids Day, which sounds really fun. So next week, as I said a couple times, I will be at OSCON. Please, if you see me at the show, come up to me and say hello and say I'm a FLOSS Weekly listener and I appreciate what you're doing. And if you're still a fan of my Pearl books, let me know that too, because I still have that out there in the woodworks. I don't have anybody else lined up. Oh, and next week we're going to have if conversations have gone correctly, we'll actually be interviewing somebody at OSCON who is announcing a pretty big project. So I don't want to tip my hand yet, but if everything goes well, we'll have a live interview with somebody who's doing some really cool stuff at OSCON. There's plenty of cool stuff actually happening at OSCON. So most of Q3 is still open. I haven't been sending out my invites fast enough. If you go to the spreadsheet at twit.tv/floss, a link from there, you can see who I am inviting, but I haven't got down to got dates for that. You can follow me on Google Plus at Floss Weekly, or follow us on Google Plus at Floss Weekly. We also have at Floss Weekly, which is the at Floss Weekly would be the Twitter handle. We have a live chat. I took a couple questions from there at live.twit.tv at 8:30 a.m. Pacific times. You can follow me personally, Merlin, M-E-R-L-Y-N, on Twitter. But more importantly, Google Plus, Randal L. Schwartz. I was just on This Week in Law last week. That's show number 266. You might want to check that out. I talked about licensing and open source and various things related to that. And like I said, I'll be at OSCON next week, and not much else for me to say. So I'll guess, since I hear the music coming up behind me, we'll see you all again next week on Floss Weekly.